Some say money is the root of all evil. But what if evil uses money as bait? What begins as a simple hunting trip becomes a deadly game where greed transforms friends into enemies, and the true predators aren't human at all. Today, our story will show you just how far the hunger for wealth can corrupt the human soul, and what ancient forces feed on that corruption. The movie begins with an injured girl driving somewhere. She appears very nervous, clutching a gun and repeatedly checking a bag full of money. At one point, her car gets a flat tire. She starts walking forward with her bag and gun when a car comes from behind and strikes her, killing her instantly. 4 friends are in the car that hit her. They were heading to their cabin for a hunting trip when the accident occurred. Terrified, they get out of the car, unsure of what to do next. Paul notices the bag of money and tells his companions that their lives are about to change, as he is the greediest among them.
I don't think she was headed to the bank to make a deposit.
The other 3 friends are frightened by the girl's corpse lying before them. John suggests they should take the money and report the incident to the police. Paul argues that the police would confiscate the money and charge them with murder, asking if that's what John wants. Although John dislikes this reasoning, the other 2 friends support Paul. They don't want to face jail time and are tempted by the prospect of changing their lives with the money, revealing their own greed. When John's friend asks Paul what to do with the body, Paul proposes they go to the cabin and bury the corpse somewhere in the woods. Then, they'll divide the money and forget about the incident forever. They load the girl's body and the bag of money into their car. Just as they're about to leave, a police car arrives and stops nearby. The officer is actually searching for the missing girl. Paul quickly tells everyone to stay calm so the police won't become suspicious. The officer first examines the girl's abandoned car, then begins questioning the 4 friends. Paul claims they didn't see any girl and explains that their car suddenly broke down, which is why they stopped to fix it. The officer points out that their car looks brand new and questions how it could have malfunctioned. Paul responds that they don't know what caused the problem. The officer insists on examining their car. Fearing the officer might discover the dead body inside, Paul grabs the girl's gun and aims it at the police officer. This terrifies his friends, who, along with the officer, plead with him to put the weapon down. However, Paul shoots and kills the police officer. Paul's friends are shocked and horrified by his actions. One friend asks what they should do next. Paul decides they should leave the officer's body at the scene, making it appear that the girl killed the officer before fleeing. They then drive to their cabin. Upon reaching the cabin, they find it completely isolated, surrounded by dense forest. John is deeply disturbed by the recent events and refuses to speak to anyone. 2 of the friends begin digging a grave to bury the bodies, while Paul starts counting the money to divide it equally among the 4. When John calls his wife, she complains that she's been trying to reach him all morning without success. John reassures her that he's fine and will return home soon after the hunting trip, asking her not to worry. Meanwhile, another man named Sidney arrives at the location where the girl's car is parked. Finding the vehicle empty, he notices bloodstains on the ground, which leads him to understand where he needs to go. He takes the car and drives straight to the friend's cabin, where they are in the process of burying the bodies. All 4 friends are startled by Sidney's unexpected arrival. When Paul demands to know who he is, Sidney calmly explains that he's come to retrieve his bag. He offers to let all 4 of them go if they return it to him.
I believe you gentlemen have something that belongs to me.
Leonard, Frisco.
The friends are bewildered about how Sidney found them. Paul aims a gun at him and orders his friend to search Sidney, but finds no weapons on him. Sidney again requests his bag, promising to leave peacefully. Paul asks how he found them and whether anyone else knows their location. Sidney responds that while he doesn't know about others, he knows everything about them and has extensive knowledge of their situation. He advises them to return his bag so he can leave quietly. The friends are puzzled by Sidney's calm demeanor. He shows no anger or agitation. Suddenly, they hear sounds from the forest and suspect that Sidney's men might be targeting them. John and another friend take guns and venture into the woods to investigate. Paul interrogates Sidney about how many men are in the forest. Sidney claims he came alone, but Paul doesn't believe him. They force Sidney into the basement and tie him up. While searching the forest, John and his friend discover animal traps. As they examine these traps, they encounter a man who, upon seeing their guns, flees in terror. They pursue and capture him, bringing him back to the cabin. Paul demands to know where the man's companions are, but the terrified man tearfully insists he doesn't understand what they're talking about. The frightened man pleads desperately, saying he has a house nearby and just wants to return to his daughter and wife. He begs for his life, claiming he hasn't done anything wrong. His terror is genuine, and it's clear he's telling the truth. John observes the man's condition and tells the others he doesn't believe the stranger knows anything about their situation. However, Paul argues that since the man has seen them, he could report them to the police, which would result in their imprisonment. Paul insists they must kill him, but this time, someone else has to pull the trigger. John's friend volunteers to do it, but when faced with the pleading innocent man, he cannot bring himself to shoot. Paul then holds a gun to John's friend, forcing him to kill the stranger.
You will.
Under this coercion, John's friend reluctantly shoots the man, killing him. John's friend goes into shock after committing this murder. Meanwhile, John begins moving the bodies. Paul then goes to confront Sidney, who tells him, "You killed an innocent man when you knew he was innocent. You're not doing this to save yourselves anymore. You're starting to enjoy hunting humans. This has become like a drug to you." Paul is surprised by Sidney's perceptive observation. When John joins them, Sidney makes one final appeal. "I'm telling you all for the last time. Give me my money back and I'll leave." Paul's friend suggests giving Sidney a share of the money to resolve the situation, but Paul refuses. Sidney clarifies that he doesn't want a share. He wants everything or nothing. Paul responds by pointing a gun at Sidney's head. Sidney remains completely calm and says softly, "You can't kill me. And why don't you tell your friends about California?" This shocks Paul completely. When John asks what happened in California, Paul initially tries to avoid the subject, but eventually confesses. Paul reveals that during a business trip to California the previous year, he met a girl who came with him willingly. However, the next morning, she began threatening him, demanding money and saying she would report him to the police for assault if he refused. After a heated argument, Paul killed her in anger, dismembered her body, and disposed of it. This means Paul had already committed murder before their current predicament. His friends are horrified to learn Paul is capable of such violence. Paul defends himself, saying he was scared and acted to save his life. At this point, John's friend, consumed with rage, confronts Paul with a gun, saying, "I killed a man because of you, and I regret it." Paul reminds him that he volunteered to do the killing, which enrages John's friend further. Taking advantage of this emotional moment, Paul snatches the gun away and strikes John's friend in the head. When Paul's friend and John try to stop him, Paul's friend shoots Paul in the head, knocking him unconscious. When Paul regains consciousness, he finds himself in the basement with Sidney. Upstairs, Paul's friend and John are discussing the money. John suggests hiding the money somewhere in the forest until they can find a solution, saying, "Ever since this bag came into our lives, we've lost our humanity." In the basement, Sidney provokes Paul, saying, "Your friends have taken the money and left. It looks like they won't include you in their plan." Enraged, Paul rushes upstairs to confront John, but John's friend shoots him, causing Paul to collapse. Believing Paul is dead, John's friend goes down to the basement and begins crying. Sidney coldly observes, "What's the use of crying now? You didn't want to kill that innocent man, yet you did. And now you've shot your friend. Do you think crying will erase your crimes?" Meanwhile, John ventures into the forest and finds a hollow tree where he hides the bag of money. Later, Paul regains consciousness. The bullet had only hit his shoulder, and he survived. He quickly hides behind a tree, now understanding that his friends have turned against him. Back at the cabin, Sidney asks Paul's friend, "Do you trust John?" When the friend replies that he does, Sidney continues, "You're planning to take this money and start a new life, aren't you? But let me tell you, this money has never brought good to anyone." Paul's friend tells Sidney to be quiet. Sidney makes another offer. "Give me my money and I'll let you live." However, Paul's friend doesn't seem to understand what Sidney is implying about the money's true nature. When John returns to the cabin, Paul confronts him at gunpoint, demanding, "Take me to the bag or I'll shoot you."
I will shoot you.
John drops his weapon and says wearily, "I'm tired of all this. If you want the money, I'll take you there." However, John cunningly leads Paul to the area where the animal traps are located. Paul's leg gets caught in one of the traps, and he screams in agony. Instead of helping him, John picks up his gun and runs back to the cabin, leaving Paul trapped. John tells his friend everything that happened. Upon hearing this, John's friend says, "Paul is our friend. We can't leave him to die like this." Sidney interjects once more, "You still have a chance. Give me my money." When Paul's friend threatens Sidney again, Sidney reveals, "I know everything about you and how you're betraying your friends." Before Sidney can elaborate further, Paul's friend shoots him in the head. Suddenly, a strange piercing sound begins echoing throughout the area, causing all of them to scream in pain as the noise hurts their ears severely. After the sound subsides, John and his friend make their way to where John hid the money. Unknown to them, Paul has managed to free himself from the trap and is secretly following them. Along the way, Paul finds John's discarded gun and takes it with him. During their journey, John asks Paul's friend, "Are you hiding something from me?" Paul's friend confesses, "Yes, and I'm sorry. I've been having an affair with your wife." This revelation devastates John. In his anger, John says, "I treated you so well, and you both betrayed me. This has been going on for so long, but you never told me." He aims his gun at his friend's head, but doesn't pull the trigger. Instead, he declares, "We'll take the money and leave. After this, I never want to see your face again."
Let's go, Leonard.
Meanwhile, Sidney suddenly opens his eyes in the basement. He's alive again, revealing that he isn't human. The group reaches the tree where John hid the money. John's friend suggests they should go help Paul, but Paul's friend dismisses this, saying Paul must be dead by now. Unknown to them, Paul has been watching and shoots Paul's friend in the head, killing him instantly. John and his remaining friend hide behind the tree. John's friend calls out to Paul, "You're our friend. We were coming to help you. I'm throwing down my gun and coming out. You do the same." Paul demands that they come out first. Despite John's warnings, John's friend emerges and is shocked to see Sidney standing behind Paul. In his confusion and fear, he drops the money bag. Paul, not understanding what's happening, shoots John's friend in the panic. Now, only Paul and John remain alive. Sidney drags the wounded John's friend to a tree and begins extracting his blood with a syringe to feed himself, revealing that Sidney is actually a vampire. As John's friend lies dying, Sidney tells him, "You humans behave like dogs. Give a dog a piece of meat and they'll fight their own companions. The only difference here is money instead of meat. In greed, humans and animals are equal. Animals chase food, humans chase money. I threw money between you and you forgot your friendship." Sidney reveals that this was all a test he's been conducting for many years. As John peers out from behind the tree, Paul shoots him, thinking he's killed him. However, John is still alive. When Paul approaches to take the money bag, John shoots and kills him, though John himself is fatally wounded. Sidney approaches the dying John and offers him his blood, saying, "This is my gift to you. With this, you'll become immortal and never die. You humans are incredibly greedy and will do anything for personal gain. Now, I'm giving you a new life." Sidney then leaves with a bag of money and a gun. The next morning, Sidney places the money bag in the girl's car. Soon after, the girl approaches her vehicle. She's alive, proving she never actually died in the accident. This reveals that she too is immortal and has been working with Sidney for many years, testing humans and killing them for sustenance. The film shows two new people discovering a bag full of money, their eyes lighting up with greed. This indicates they will be Sidney and the girl's next victims. Finally, we see John, who has indeed become a vampire after drinking Sidney's blood. He has joined Sidney in this eternal mission of testing and preying upon human greed. What did you think of this twisted tale where greed became the ultimate weapon? If this dark story of friendship, betrayal, and supernatural horror kept you hooked, smash that like button and subscribe for more chilling movie breakdowns that will leave you questioning human nature itself. Which character's downfall shocked you the most? Let me know in the comments below.